Hey everyone, welcome to the round one recap video for Ambyria World Championship Tournament 2020.
My name is Ben, and this is Josh, and we are Paw-Warrior Games, the creators of Ambyria and the hosts of the Ambyria World Championships.
Round one was super exciting. It was filled with lots of drama, lots of amazing plays. We're here to highlight a couple of those things for each matchup, talk a little bit about round two, and keep things going in this exciting tournament. I think before we do that, we just want to say a few quick thank yous. We had a few people help us get set up with Discord, which has really been great for this tournament. Kalai and Jim, you guys are awesome. You help us in so many ways. We've had some amazing commentators. We've had Carl and TJ and Andrew do commentary. You guys are all awesome. You're making this tournament as amazing as we hoped it would be. So thank you so much for that.
What Josh said. Thanks, Josh.
So here we've got our round one bracket up on the screen, and we're going to go through each of these matchups, talk about some highlights, and we'll whittle it down to the round two bracket. For those of you keeping score at home and have been watching, you already know the outcomes of these matches, but for those that didn't get to see them, here are a couple of recap highlights of each of these matches.
And even if you did see them, this is still going to be fun. So
yeah,
hang in there. Who do we got first?
So first we had a Jim versus Andrew. So this was a really exciting matchup. Lots of great things happened in here. Let's jump right into game one. So in game one, early on, a couple of things happened, but we had Andrew play this sleeping potion. Then he played a mysterious elixir. Nice move to fill up your Emberscape really quickly, but unfortunately for him, he gets that witch out of the arcane cards. Nothing to take from Jim, and he's forced to give him a collection card, which, you know, not the best start for Andrew.
Yeah, and that can be tough. You know, you're expecting to have like a good move, and sometimes mysterious elixir, arcane cards, they just work that way. Sometimes you get the raw end of the deal, so not great for Andrew right there.
And for those that did watch this match, you know that was one of many unlucky pulls out of the arcane cards that Andrew had. We'll highlight a couple more of those, but he definitely did not have the arcane cards as his friend that match. Then, you know, right after that, it's Jim's turn to go. You can see he has his own witch. He's playing as the yellow deck, so you can actually see he's got two in there. You can see that he gives Andrew the Wraith. Andrew doesn't know that yet, but the rest of us do, and we know how devastating that is.
Yeah, that's such a powerful move. You know, Jim just collected some points from Andrew's witch, and now he's giving him minus points, taking his sleeping potion, taking his witch. It's not a good day for Andrew.
Yeah, definitely a rough start, but you never know in Ambyria what you can come back from.
Yeah, it's definitely not over yet. So in this next one, it looks like he's going to play a poltergeist. And, you know, this is a good way to change somebody's mode, get them out of protection mode, do what you need to do to them, but also bank a few more points. So let's see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, and if you've been looking at what was in Jim's hand, you can tell that he had Seraphine in his hands. Pretty wise decision not to play Seraphine in the face of a face-down card. Always a risky move. And you can see here Andrew flipped over that face-down card. He had a Seductress. So very wise of Jim to hold off on playing his hero there.
Yeah, it was a clutch move.
And then right after that, Andrew gets another face-down card, trying to get another trap for Jim, and we can see here if he falls into it or not.
Really trying to decide what to play. I mean, it's a tough decision. You got your hero, you might collect it right away. Sometimes it's really nice to play that hero right at the end there and then just collect it. But drawing 3 cards is never a bad move.
Yeah, so he again hangs on to Seraphine. That face down card from Andrew, a lethal assassin, would have gotten rid of that. So always tempting to play that hero card, get those 20 points, but Jim showing a lot of restraint there, hanging on to that card and letting Andrew use up his attacking cards without losing his hero.
Yeah, it's definitely some tense moments there.
Yeah. And, you know, this is progressing towards the end of the game here. This is showing where Jim finally does get Seraphine out. And you can see that that's going to work out pretty well for him with what's going on here, that Spirit of the Forest getting destroyed.
Yeah. Expert use of the hero card there.
Yeah, and you can tell how well that worked out for Jim. Keeping that hero, using it when he knew it was more safe, definitely worked out for him. That really was one of the cards that helped him win Game 3. It was a pretty close game, or sorry, Game 1. Pretty close game, Game 113 to 91. And Seraphine, definitely one of the key factors to that victory.
Yeah, I love the way Jim played that game. You know, Andrew did really well, not to say he didn't, but like Jim made all the right moves that game.
Yeah, Jim definitely knows what he's doing, putting a lot of pressure on Andrew going into Game 2. So here we see in Game 2 here, we have Malevny coming out.
Oh, so who's playing this hand? Who's playing the white hand here?
White hand is Andrew. Sorry, this is still Game 1. Sorry, that was still Game 1. That was the end of Game 1, showing where Andrew did try to play his hero. Is actually a really great move from Andrew. He played his hero, trying to get in a collection, and unfortunately for him, Jim did have a face down card. He was able to try to take a card from Andrew. Andrew played his protection martyr, preventing that from happening, but that does make it so that he's no longer in attack mode. He couldn't collect. So he was caught between a rock and a hard place. I think he made the right call getting Malevny out there, knowing that if he didn't get that collection, she would be destroyed in that next turn by Seraphine.
Yeah, and especially in Ambyria, you got to make those big moves to try and get those big payoffs to kind of bridge that gap and win the game at the end.
All right, let's jump into Game 2, where Andrew's playing as the white deck and Jim is playing as the black deck.
All right, so he's got the Paw-Warrior Venom in his Emberscape, preventing Andrew from doing some nefarious things to his Emberscape, but Andrew seems to get the collection anyway.
Yeah, he definitely did a good job of persevering through that Paw-Warrior Venom. Unfortunately, you saw that arcane card was the Jewel of Greed, though, and he had no cards in his hand to collect.
That's like an unfortunate draw from the arcane cards. Normally, the Jewel of Greed is a great arcane card. Get a couple extra points beyond your collection and get that extra edge over your opponent. Yeah,
just another example in this matchup of Andrew not really getting a good break out of his arcane cards there. So, we see here that Andrew does, however, get a good hasty mode collection.
And closes out the game.
Yeah, he closes out the game. You never know when that's going to happen. Sometimes it's easy to take a look at your opponent, see, they've got 2 arcane cards there. I'm pretty safe for now. You never know when that mysterious elixir is going to come out there, though, and give you an abrupt ending that you didn't know was going to happen.
Yeah, and having 2 arcanes out there, it's not putting pressure on the end of the game. It's like, I've got time. I've got a little bit of time to make my moves and set up my plans, but not in that game.
Yeah, and that actually was one of the first times that the arcane cards really helped Andrew in this match, and they helped him pull off a very close victory, 108 to 102, and that lets him get into a Game 3. Always love to see these matchups get a Game 3.
It was the first time it helped him, but was it also the last? Will we find out?
You know, time will tell. I know in Game 3, Andrew sticks with the white deck. Jim goes back to the yellow, going back to what worked for him in Game 1.
Seraphine's very popular deck. What's going on here?
Yeah, in this early game, I really like how both players get their lasting effects out early on. You saw Jim had the Horn of Geldland, Andrew had the Spirit of the Forest. Those are both great tools to force some mode pressure on your opponent.
I think Horn of Geldland is underrated. You know, you don't often have cards that you can waste on your mode pile or spend. You know. And you really quickly burn through those, and then you have to start playing good cards on your mode pile. So that's a really good card to have out there. Not to mention the Spirit of Forest up against it. So
yeah, and then what we're seeing here is we're seeing Andrew utilizing his Witch. We know that's his favorite card from his information. And look at what he gets here. He's gonna get this Sleeping Potion. That's going to go into his hand, save for later. One of the best cards, in my opinion, that you can get from using that Witch.
Yeah, and also if that Sleeping Potion's out there, that means someone used it against you, and you're just itching to use it back against them. So it's a good use of his Witch right there.
And what you'll see here next is how that sleeping potion actually gets utilized. Notice how he uses that as the 5th card in his Emberscape.
Deadly. Like that is such a demoralizing move. If I were Jim, I would just pack it in. You know, getting slept, not getting to retaliate or do anything against it. You know, beginning of the game, it just tears you down. It's not a good start to the game.
Yeah. And it's Sleeping Potion, it's a powerful card. One of those things that some players may not always optimize. And right there, we see one of the best uses of the Sleeping Potion. Use it to guarantee your collection. Give your opponent no options.
And building off of that theme of Andrew getting bad arcane cards this whole game, what did he get there? The Deceptive Trader? How did that work out for him?
Yeah, that Deceptive Trader, he was sitting pretty in protection mode. His arcane cards decided that his opponent should be in protection mode instead. So he didn't have that. He had that one good arcane card last game, and that was about enough of his good arcane luck from what Ambyrian gods had to say about it.
All right.
So we do see here when Andrew is down to 2 arcane cards, Jim still has 4. Things are not looking too good for him. Jim even tries to use that protection martyr to block that seductress. Andrew has none of that, puts his own martyr on top of it, fills up his Emberscape again. If you're in Jim's position right now, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm not happy. This is for Jim right now. Like, I think I've lost the game if I'm in Jim's shoes. And then a lethal assassin out of the arcane cards. I just had a full Emberscape. Now I got 1 card. I don't think I'm coming back from this.
Yeah, and if you're in Jim's position, you really need to maintain your focus. It's never over in Ambyria, not until the last arcane card is flipped. And as this game progresses, Andrew does teeter on the edge of the end of the game for a very long time. Jim does a great job of preventing that last collection. He keeps up the offensive pressure. He plays a lot of cards to capture things from Andrew, prevents him from filling up that Emberscape, and he really allows that game to drag on. Here we see a turning point here. Jim plays that Mysterious Elixir, and he gets the Banshee Shriek. So not only is this going to take a couple of cards out of Andrew, you'll also notice that Jim has gone down to 1 arcane card at this point. He kept up that pressure all throughout this end game.
What's the advantage of having 1 arcane card when it comes down to the points in your collection pile?
So if you think you've got an edge, once you get down to that last arcane card, you really want to flip that before your opponent has time to catch up. And as you saw, Andrew just could not pull that off with the cards and the situation that he had. Jim was able to get his collections through, filled up his Emberscape, and against all odds from that early game, Jim was able to pull off a win here in Game 3, getting him into round 2 of this tournament.
Yeah, that was super impressive on Jim's part. Like I was saying, you've got 4 arcane cards. Your opponent has 1 or 2 left, and they've collected twice already, and you collected 0 times. They've repeatedly reaped cards from your Emberscape, like wheat from a field, and you're just like demoralized. And if it were chess, you'd knock over your king and be done. So that was really amazing to watch Jim come back from that and not only win the game, but move on to the next round.
And that was no easy feat. Andrew, a great competitor. He knows what he's doing. So very impressive for Jim. Excited to see what he can pull off in round 2. So speaking of round 2, let's see who he'll be matched up against. We had Ivan versus Rachel. Let's see. We had, to start off with, Ivan playing as the red deck and Rachel playing as the black deck. So let's see what kind of shenanigans these players got up to in game 1.
Okay, so this is Ivan as the red deck, right?
Yeah. Turn 1 Dark Magic. I know a couple of people who are going to be very happy about seeing that move. Immediately starting with that chaos.
Yeah.
Based on what was in Ivan's hand, what do you think about that move?
Dark Magic is never really a great card to play as your first card. it can really come back and bite you. But I could see it making sense in this case.
Yeah, Ivan really was caught between a rock and a hard place with those things, and that dark magic I think was a good play based on what he had.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I know once the dark magic was out there, you can see over across the table in Ivan's Emberscape, he actually got his second one out there. Doesn't get any double effects. It's a lot of points though.
Yeah. So I think that's another good reason to be playing that one, just because you have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. But now they're both out.
Yeah, Rachel flips over that demonic vengeance. It's an interesting card, one that's sometimes not that exciting. In this case, devastating.
Very exciting. Lethal.
Yeah, right off the bat, two big cards out of Ivan's Emberscape, effects of dark magic end. So a good start to the game for Rachel. Worked her way through that dark magic and came out the other side unscathed.
I mean, I think she's just showing us how she won in 2017.
Yeah, we cannot forget that Rachel is one of our former world champions. So do not underestimate her, regardless of how nervous she may be.
Sorry, Rachel. I know you're nervous.
So here later on, notice how Ivan's got his two face down cards here against Rachel's got two face down cards against Ivan here. Ivan plays a Mysterious Elixir. That's a good move. Why do people normally play that Mysterious Elixir as their fourth card?
It allows them to get their fifth card in there and collect sooner. But those two face down cards are dangerous. We don't know what they're going to be, and it's never safe with a full Emberscape and a face down card.
Yeah, I think that was a really risky move from Ivan, but recognizing he needs to pick up his momentum. So in the face of those two face down cards, you can see there he throws on his Martyr, and it pays off for him. He is able to score that collection. Rachel's face down cards could not stop it. Another reason that can be a risky move too, people don't often think about, is that arcane card may not fill your Emberscape. You could get a Martyr or a Devious Serpent. So a risky move all around that does pay off for Ivan there. It keeps him in this game. And
that's what it's all about, measuring those risks and taking them when you need them. But even so, it's still a rocky start. That's not a huge collection. 5 cards, but all under 10 points. Thanks to the demonic vengeance.
And here we can see, what I think is a pretty interesting interaction in this game. You can see Ivan is in the process of collecting his Emberscape. He was in attack mode. Always good to get that attack mode collection. He's going to get those cards in there. He's going to be down to 1 arcane card. But Rachel, in response to that, is going to play a Deceptive Trader. So Rachel's Deceptive Trader puts her in attack mode, lets her collect right after that. And I think that's, showing you here, you'll see that Deceptive Trader go off. This is why she's a champion. She doesn't let Ivan's collection get her down. She says, you got that attack mode? Now I'm going to get that attack mode. I'm going to collect.
And I think that just shows why the Deceptive Trader is so deceptive. You play a card to help yourself, and then your opponent uses it to help themselves. And that happens time and time again in Ambyria, not just with the Deceptive Trader.
Exactly. And that is a great move for Rachel. You see that gets her down to her last arcane card. She just keeps the momentum going from there. Ivan is ultimately unable to get to that finish line ahead of her. So Rachel does end up winning game 1, 175 to 113, in a strong showing from her in game 1.
Yeah, and when you're in that score range, 60 points of difference, it's not a crushing defeat. It's not the same as 113 to 60. That's a much different thing. I think both players did well when you have 2 scores in the hundreds.
Yeah, absolutely. High scoring game, a great showing from both competitors in game 1. Game 2, we have Ivan with the green deck, Rachel with the yellow deck. Let's see what Ivan can come up with to try to get this into game 3 to keep his tournament prospects alive. So our first highlight here, you'll notice that Rachel's got a pretty full Emberscape compared to Ivan. He's got to do something about it. So he tries to use that Martyr, get her out of protection mode, flip that face down Witch.
Yeah, that's textbook right there. Ivan really knows how to use that face down card to get the cards out of Rachel's Emberscape, and maybe the unshakable nervous lady, maybe get her watching her moves and put her on her toes or her heels. See.
Yeah, and you can see there by her Martyr. She was not having any of that. She was prepared for that. You see a face down card, you got to keep protected. So she saved that protection Martyr, and she was ready for that attack.
And anytime someone pulls a protection Martyr on your Witch, you were ready to knock them down a peg. And when someone stops you from doing that, you kind of get knocked down a peg. So not a great development there.
But you know what? Speaking of good uses of the Martyrs, though, we do see Ivan right there getting to use his own Martyr, preventing Rachel from collecting in attack mode. So great use of Martyrs by both players. Once you know how to use the Martyr, you're on your way to becoming a good Ambyria player.
Yeah, and Ivan had a Seductress in his hand, so he had something to follow up with. It wasn't just like, let's delay, see if I draw something good. He could have, in his next turn, he had an action he could take to take cards for himself and move forward in his Emberscape and his position against Rachel.
Yeah, and then down the line, you can see that pay off. You see him be able to collect. You can see there he has gotten his arcane card flipped already. And then Rachel plays the Deceptive Trader, the same exact tactic from the first game, getting herself into attack mode. This is going to be her signature move, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that move 2 games in a row that frequently. So I would like to say that, Ivan should have known better. She just did that to him. He should have been prepared for it. But really, that's sneaky.
Yeah, great move. If you're going to play Rachel in the next round, be wary of the Deceptive Trader.
Yeah. Speaking of if, though, so it's Jim against Rachel in the next round, right?
Yep.
We've got one more clip here to show how she closed this out. Maybe.
Yeah, so we've got a couple. So here we can see Rachel using that Seductress, trying to get a collection here. For those that were watching this stream, you know that Ivan had that card face down for a long time. Finally flips it over. It's the Field Nymph, which is going to get a couple of cards out of there. I think Ivan really shows the value here of waiting to flip your face down card for the right time.
Right. Sometimes, though, you never get to use them. Sometimes you keep them face down so long that your collection comes around and they're out of there.
Yeah, and what was interesting here is Rachel did end up playing the King of Storms, which reset the field, and this actually gave Ivan a chance to use the exact same move later on. He flipped over a face-down Shield Field Nymph again, but this time not as effective. It does destroy the top card of her mode pile.
You can get her out of protection mode. Well, I think she had another protection mode underneath, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, she has another protection mode underneath. So this is a great lesson for some of our new Ambyria players that might be watching. You might initially think, why would I put a protection mode on there if I'm already protected? And that is exactly why.
And now she's still got a full Emberscape. She's still in protection mode, and she still gets to collect.
Yeah. So in that game too, things were not really looking good for Ivan. He was trying to make a move to get a comeback. So he's going to go for a play that worked well for him last game here. Notice that Mysterious Elixir come out. But let's see what he gets this game from that Arcane card.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're talking about with the last one. So he's going to have to put this on a mode pile, and now he's not going to have a full Emberscape.
Yeah, that's definitely, as we said, that's one of the risks that you take when you try for that move. It is a great move. We see a lot of players go for it. Doesn't always work out the way that you want it to, though. And that loss of momentum really does prove to be the last straw for Ivan. Rachel does go on to win game 2 pretty commandingly. And that leaves us with Rachel versus Jim for round 2.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting one to watch. You know, Rachel, former world champion, Jim, a member of the demo team and an experienced Ambyria player. I think that that matchup is going to be one to watch.